Have you ever felt like the world is working against you? Life seems like a string of disappointments, traffic jams, work pressure, misunderstandings, or simply waking up one morning without a trace of motivation. If you're caught in the chaos, drowning in unstable emotions and endless expectations, pause, breathe, and ask yourself, what do I truly have control over? We cannot command the world, but we can govern ourselves, and that is the heart of an ancient philosophy, one that guided emperors, slaves, warriors, and ordinary people alike through adversity. Stoicism. Today we'll uncover 10 vital lessons from Stoicism, not just to stay calm, but to awaken willpower, master emotion, and reshape how we live in a world that never stops shifting. 1. Focus on what you truly control. We live in a world where most things are beyond our grasp. The weather, what others think of us, whether traffic will back up, or if that long-awaited message will ever arrive. And it is precisely because of these things, those we cannot control, that our minds become tangled and our emotions scatter like a kite cut loose. We grow angry when others speak ill of us, disappointed when outcomes don't match our hopes, and tormented by the past looping endlessly in our heads. But there is a truth, simple yet profound. It's not the world that wounds us, it's how we respond to it. That is why the Stoics always begin here, by focusing relentlessly on what is within our control. We cannot force others to like us, but we can live with kindness, true to the values we believe in. We cannot dictate whether we'll get the dream job, but we can prepare thoroughly, keep learning, and walk into the interview with quiet confidence. We do not control the outcome, but we do control the effort. And when we shift our attention to that effort, we reclaim agency over our lives, even in the smallest of moments. In letting go of the urge to manipulate outcomes, we discover freedom. No longer chained to what lies outside, we begin building a foundation within. A friend of mine was once furious after being misunderstood and criticized publicly by her boss. She spent days in despair, convinced it was all unnecessary. But eventually, she asked herself, what can I do right now? Instead of drowning in anger, she rewrote her project more clearly, reached out to her boss, and listened to the feedback. The result didn't shift overnight, but what mattered is that she chose how to respond, and that changed everything. From being reactive, she became proactive. From a victim, she became the architect. And the beauty is, when you act from the space you can control, you feel powerful, even when the outcome doesn't go your way. In life, we may lose much: jobs, money, even those we love. But there is one thing that, if kept, ensures we never truly collapse: the sovereignty of our mind. Each time we choose action over complaint, each time we hold to our values rather than react impulsively, we strengthen that inner fortress. And this is not some abstract advice. It is a skill, a practice, and the very ground we must stand on when life becomes chaotic. So if you're struggling with something beyond your reach, pause and ask, what can I do right now? It is one of the most powerful questions in the Stoic toolkit. And sometimes, just that shift in perspective is enough to change everything. Not because the world has changed, but because you are no longer its victim. You are now its navigator. 2. Acceptance, not surrender, but intelligent action. In the course of life, there are things that, no matter how hard we try, we simply cannot change. A sudden storm rolls in, a loved one departs forever, or a major event upends all our plans. In such moments, our first reaction is often resistance. We ask why this happened, look for someone to blame, or try to escape. But the more we resist reality, the longer the suffering lasts. That's when we begin to see that acceptance is not weakness, but clarity in the face of life's unyielding limits. In Stoicism, acceptance is not the abandonment of action, but the choice to respond with reason and effectiveness. When something irreversible occurs, the wisest move is not to thrash in despair, but to see it as a necessary part of the natural order. Just as a sailor cannot command the storm, but can adjust the sails, the Stoic learns to meet circumstances with calm adaptability. They do not try to change the unchangeable, but focus instead on adjusting and moving forward. Stoic thought compares acceptance to a tree in a storm, bending with the wind, but not uprooted. If it stands rigid, it breaks, but if it yields just enough, it survives and rises again after the storm passes. So it is with us. Strength is not about always overcoming circumstances, but about enduring and transforming them without losing ourselves in the process. In many cases, acceptance is the first step to freeing ourselves from inner torment. When we stop wasting energy on denial or rage against the inevitable, the mind clears and we can find a new path. It opens the door to creativity, resilience, and recovery. Instead of being stuck in the question, why me? The Stoic shifts to, what can I do from here? That shift marks the difference between someone crushed by adversity and someone who rises through it. Acceptance is also a way of living in harmony with the laws of nature. Nothing in life is permanent. Everything changes: health, time, relationships, recognition. When one understands and embraces this impermanence, fear and regret begin to lose their grip. In their place comes full attention to the present, a deeper embrace of each moment while it still exists. Such acceptance does not lead to passivity, but to a life lived more fully, more steadily, and with greater patience for oneself and for the world. Stoicism teaches that nothing happens which cannot somehow be woven into one's growth if accepted wisely, because once we stop grasping at what lies beyond our control, we begin to realize a greater strength within reach, the power to adapt, adjust, and keep moving forward. That is acceptance, not surrender, but the beginning of intelligent action. 3. Limiting desire so inner freedom can flourish. Humans are born with natural needs: to live, to feel safe in life, to be loved. Yet over time, as society evolves, these essential needs become buried beneath countless other desires: wealth, status, recognition, even power. When these desires exceed reasonable limits, they cease to serve human growth and instead become burdens that weigh down the mind, leaving us in a constant state of lack, anxiety, and dissatisfaction. Stoicism recognized this and placed the discipline of limiting desire at the foundation of inner freedom and lasting peace. The Stoic does not deny the value of material comfort, but always asks, is this truly necessary? They believe that if one's happiness depends on having something, then its loss can just as easily bring misery. Desire in Stoic thought is not limited to grand pursuits. It also includes the subtle, recurring cravings, the need for approval, a passing compliment, or the hope that things will always go our way. It is often these seemingly harmless desires that scatter the mind, pulling it toward what lies beyond control and keeping it from ever feeling complete. By limiting desire, the Stoic turns inward to identify the core values that bring enduring stability: integrity, courage, wisdom, and temperance. They learn to distinguish between what is essential and what is excess, between what truly benefits the self and what only offers fleeting satisfaction. Limiting desire is not a rejection of life, but a deliberate choice to move toward simplicity, clarity, and purpose. When one is no longer ruled by the need to have more, to outdo others, or to constantly prove themselves. Energy is free to cultivate the inner self and nurture meaningful, lasting relationships. In today's world, where media and marketing relentlessly fuel the urge to consume more, achieve more, and live more extravagantly, the practice of limiting desire becomes even more vital. The Stoic does not allow their environment to dictate their values. They draw a firm line between the temporary and the enduring, and in that self-restraint, they discover a form of freedom that cannot be taken away. Freedom from dependency, from the illusion of lack, and from the pressures of the outside world. Stoicism does not condemn ownership, but warns that unchecked desire may lead what we own to begin owning us. Inner freedom is not found in having everything, but in being bound to nothing. When we learn to be content, to moderate, to choose wisely what we truly need, we enter a state of lightness, comfort, and self-directed living. Limiting desire does not make life poorer. It enriches it by restoring peace and strength to the mind. 4. Choosing your response in every circumstance. Life is inherently unpredictable. Surprises can strike at any moment. A rude comment from a stranger, an unexpected failure at work, or an event that unravels all your plans in an instant. In such moments, the difference between someone swept away by emotion and someone who remains composed lies not in external events, but in internal response. Stoicism centers on the truth that while we cannot control everything that happens to us, we always retain the power to choose how we respond. The Stoic clearly understands that between external stimulus and reaction, there exists a space. In that space lives reason, choice, and the essence of freedom. When reactions are unconscious, rushed, driven by anger, fear, or expectation, we lose control of ourselves and hand the reins of our life over to circumstance. But if we pause, observe our emotions, and choose our response deliberately, we are practicing true Stoicism, anchored in values, unmoved by chaos. In many situations, the difference between an impulsive reaction and a thoughtful one is what determines the outcome. A hurtful comment can be met with anger, escalating conflict, or with calm, diffusing tension. A failure can lead to self-blame and despair, or become the foundation for reflection and growth. It is not the event itself, but our response that shapes our inner state and directly influences the quality of our lives. Stoicism does not ask us to become emotionless or cold. On the contrary, it emphasizes understanding our emotions, recognizing them as they arise, but refusing to let them rule us. Rather than suppressing feelings, the Stoic learns to witness them and respond based on reason, principles, and virtue. This is not a denial of emotion, but a commitment to place emotion under the guidance of wisdom. By practicing the ability to choose our response, we build the foundation for self-mastery. We become steadier in conversation, more adaptable in the face of disruption, and more grounded under pressure. The power to choose is not a privilege of the few, but an innate human capacity, one that simply needs training to be fully realized. When every situation becomes an opportunity to respond with intention, we gradually reclaim authorship over our lives, instead of being dragged by what doesn't matter. In Stoic philosophy, the act of choosing our response is not just a behavior, it is a reflection of character, the embodiment of inner virtue. The way one responds in moments of difficulty reveals the strength they've cultivated quietly over time. And when we choose to respond with calm, clarity, and purpose, we don't just rise above circumstance, we transform ourselves in the process. 5. Mindfulness, truly living in the present. In modern life, People are constantly swept up in the relentless current of thoughts, worries, and plans. The mind becomes scattered, worrying about the future, regretting the past, and struggling under the weight of the present. Amid this chaos, something seemingly simple becomes incredibly difficult: to live fully in the moment that is happening right now. Stoicism places great value on keeping the mind in its rightful place, not drifting into the past, not wandering into the future, but focusing entirely on the present, the only space where action and choice are possible. Mindfulness, from a Stoic perspective, is not merely a meditation technique, but an intentional way of living. It begins with being fully aware of what one is doing, what emotions are arising, what thoughts are forming, and how the environment is affecting the self. When a person is eating, they know they are eating. When listening, they truly listen without the mind chasing its own thoughts. This full presence allows them to experience each moment more deeply, from the mundane to the meaningful. A Stoic practitioner of mindfulness does not withdraw from everyday life. They don't need seclusion to attain awareness. Instead, they sustain attention even in the smallest acts. Washing hands, walking, conversing, working, all become chances to train the capacity to observe without judgment. When the mind begins to drift, they gently bring it back to the present without blame or frustration. This is a quiet, continuous discipline that deeply strengthens mental clarity and emotional steadiness. Mindfulness not only allows one to live more deeply in the present, but also enables more effective emotional regulation. When a negative emotion arises, anger, envy, anxiety, the Stoic does not react instantly. They observe the emotion as a passing phenomenon, separate from the self, and from there choose a fitting response. This recognition weakens the grip of the emotion, preventing it from dictating behavior or speech, and creates the necessary space for reflection. In that space, reason is activated, and the person is no longer at the mercy of fleeting feelings. Living in the present also helps to reduce unnecessary worry. Most pressure stems from thoughts like, "What if that happens?" or "If only I'd done it differently." Mindfulness returns the mind to its center, the now, where there are no hypotheticals, no regrets, only the action at hand. Here, people become more effective, more perceptive, and more composed, because they are no longer ruled by what does not exist. Stoicism encourages mindfulness as a means to remain awake to life. Only in full presence can a person truly govern themselves, and from that self-governance, every choice, action, and response becomes clear, purposeful, and aligned with inner values. Mindfulness is not just a way to survive. It is a way to truly live, with depth, with wholeness. 6. Virtue is the only true compass. In the Stoic worldview, virtue is regarded as the highest good, the ultimate aim toward which every thought, word, and action should be directed. Everything else, wealth, status, fame, health, is peripheral, never the standard by which a good life is measured. Virtue in the Stoic sense is not an abstract ideal or unreachable concept, but a clear and practical guide to daily conduct, available in every moment of life. Stoic philosophy identifies 4 cardinal virtues as the foundation of all right action: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Wisdom is the ability to discern right from wrong, to know what ought to be done and what should be avoided, a clarity untouched by emotion or prejudice. Courage is the strength to face adversity, speak truth, and stay committed to what is right, even when it's difficult. Justice is the practice of treating others with fairness, honesty, and impartiality. Temperance is the discipline to govern oneself, avoiding extremes, unchecked passions, and impulsive behavior. These four virtues do not exist in isolation. They reinforce one another, and together form a sturdy moral foundation for every decision in life. The Stoic holds that nothing lies fully within our control except our own moral conduct. A person may lose all they possess, but no one can take away their capacity to act virtuously. In any situation, whether ease or hardship, living with virtue remains a viable choice. Even in the harshest of circumstances, a Stoic practitioner can preserve their conscience, stay true to their core values, and refuse to betray what is right for the sake of personal gain. Virtue is not something proclaimed in words, but revealed through daily action. How one listens to others, how one responds to insult, how one handles failure or success. All of these are reflections of inner character. In Stoicism, true success is not measured by outward achievements, but by maintaining integrity in every deed. When a person lives in alignment with virtue, they no longer depend on recognition or outcomes. Their greatest reward is the harmony of an untroubled mind and a conscience at peace. Holding virtue as one's compass provides a moral anchor in a world full of uncertainty. When faced with the choice between what is easy and what is right, between self-interest and the common good, between silence and speaking for truth, the Stoic turns to the four pillars of virtue for guidance. They do not seek shortcuts, nor are they swayed by fleeting rewards, but remain loyal to the harder, more enduring path. To the Stoic, virtue is not only a compass, but the sole goal worth pursuing, because everything else lies beyond our control. When one centers life around virtue, they attain a profound kind of freedom. Freedom from outcomes, from the judgment of others, and from the inner turmoil born of desire. It is a lasting freedom, built upon the most unshakable foundation, the dignity of the human spirit. 7. Impermanence is the nature of the world. In the Stoic worldview, nothing is considered permanent. Everything, objects, conditions, relationships, and even human life itself, exists within the ceaseless flow of time. All things are born, endure for a while, and then change or disappear. From the turning of the seasons, the cycles of the body, to personal relationships and social achievements, everything bears the mark of change. Recognizing and accepting this impermanence is not meant to induce pessimism, but to help us live more consciously and responsibly in each passing moment. Stoic practitioners are encouraged to reflect often on impermanence as a way to train the mind. When we understand that anything can be lost at any time, we loosen our grip on external things, easing the pain when loss or change inevitably comes. We learn to live with appreciation, not because we hope to hold on to things forever, but because it is their finiteness that makes each moment uniquely valuable. Awareness of impermanence keeps the mind from being trapped in the illusion of permanence, and instead prepares us to face life's upheavals with clarity and calm. In Stoic thought, even the things we cherish most, health, youth, career, family, are not exempt from the law of change. Aging, illness, separation, and failure are not anomalies, but natural parts of life's unfolding. By contemplating loss in advance, we are not caught off guard or overwhelmed when it arrives. We do not devalue what we have, but neither do we rely on its continued presence for our peace of mind. We accept change as a normal part of existence, with no bitterness, no resistance, but with readiness to adapt and move forward. Impermanence also places us in a more honest relationship with time. When we understand that no moment will return, we begin to use time more meaningfully. Delay, procrastination, or wasting time becomes absurd in light of the truth that time is the one resource that never comes back. This guides the Stoics' daily actions, doing what must be done, saying what must be said, and living according to one's values without waiting for the right time. Living as if each day were a singular gift does not lead to haste, but to focus, and a life lived with depth. Impermanence in Stoic philosophy is not something to resist, but a truth to embrace. Living in harmony with change does not make us passive. It builds a resilient foundation for acceptance, adaptation, and growth. When we let go of the illusion that things will always remain as they are, we free ourselves from the fear of loss and gain the ability to live with spiritual freedom. The understanding of impermanence not only helps us endure sorrow, but also cultivates stillness and the capacity to truly cherish every fleeting moment. 8. Gratitude even in adversity. In Stoic philosophy, gratitude is not a feeling reserved for moments of ease or for receiving something pleasant from others. Gratitude is a way of life, a perspective that allows us to see the world with greater clarity and wholeness. Practicing gratitude helps maintain mental stability, even when life doesn't go according to plan. Stoicism encourages us not only to be thankful for what is pleasant, but also to find gratitude in what is difficult. For within every experience, whether joyful or painful, lies a lesson and an opportunity for growth. Stoic gratitude begins with recognizing what we already have, even the smallest things: a breath, sunlight, a pain-free day, a loyal friend, a nourishing meal. All of these, when seen through the lens of awareness, become reasons to be thankful. Instead of dwelling on what is lacking, the Stoic turns attention to what is present and the meaning it holds. This perspective quiets dissatisfaction, curbs endless craving, and fosters humility and appreciation for life. In the face of hardship, gratitude becomes a means to prevent the mind from drowning in suffering. During difficult times, rather than asking why this is happening, the Stoic seeks the value hidden in the experience. A failure may offer a lesson. A loss may illuminate the worth of what once was. A mistake may reveal a path toward growth and correction. Gratitude in adversity does not deny the struggle, but coexists with acceptance and a proactive spirit. It's a way to stay anchored, not entirely at the mercy of events, while preserving calm. Sustaining gratitude also recalibrates our expectations and helps clarify what truly matters. In a society driven by competition and the pressure to achieve more, gratitude acts as a necessary pause, a reminder of the simple but essential things often overlooked. It brings balance to our perception, helping us step away from comparison and envy and return to lasting values: inner peace, genuine connection, and a sense of completeness that comes from within. Stoicism regards gratitude as an essential part of rational living. A grateful person does not lose awareness in either fortune or misfortune. No matter the circumstance, they retain the ability to see the good, not because life is always kind, but because they have cultivated a deeper lens through which to view it. Gratitude becomes a foundation for calm, for emotional mastery, and for a life lived with meaning and depth, regardless of what unfolds. 9. Training resilience, not because life is easy, but because we grow stronger. Stoicism does not promise a life free of suffering, nor does it seek to avoid hardship or conceal adversity. On the contrary, it centers on preparing the mind to face life's inevitable challenges with strength and deliberate resolve. In Stoic thought, resilience is not an inborn trait, but a cultivated virtue, shaped through experience, conscious effort, and consistent practice. Building inner strength to endure difficulty is not a momentary reaction, but a way of life, grounded in the understanding that adversity is unavoidable and that how we respond defines who we are. Resilience, according to Stoicism, is not merely the ability to endure. It is the capacity to recover, to restore inner order after disruption. It is the ability to rise after falling without compromising one's integrity, to stay true to one's core values, even when circumstances are unfavorable. The Stoic does not let misfortune rob them of reason, but uses misfortune as a mirror to examine the self, a whetstone to refine virtue, and a proving ground for the sovereignty of one's character. Each hardship becomes an exercise of will, a tool for deepening endurance and sharpening self-mastery. Resilience is not forged in comfort, but developed in the crucible of difficulty. A person only discovers their true strength when forced to choose between surrender and pressing forward. In Stoic philosophy, obstacles are not seen as barriers, but as necessary elements of growth. Just as a muscle strengthens through resistance, so too does the mind become steady only through repeated trials, losses, and pressure. Training resilience also involves mentally preparing for what may go wrong. Stoics regularly visualize worst-case scenarios, not to spread pessimism, but to build a psychological shield against shock. This practice equips them to respond with composure, make sound decisions, and maintain inner balance when faced with turbulence. With repeated exposure to difficulty, they no longer react impulsively, but act with clarity and intention. In the Stoic value system, a resilient person is one who is not shaken by life, who does not lose dignity in failure, nor self-awareness in success. They do not allow circumstances to define their worth, but act according to principle, regardless of what unfolds. That resilience does not come from wishing life were easier, but from training daily to become stronger. And because of that, they remain steadfast, not just to weather the storm, but to grow through it. 10. Lifelong learning. Because who we are today must be better than yesterday. Stoicism sees learning not as a phase of life, but as a lifelong journey. Education is not confined to classrooms or books. It unfolds continuously through experience, real-world encounters, and our responses to the world around us. In Stoic thought, we never reach a state of perfect completion. We are always in the process of becoming a better version of ourselves. Growth does not come from merely accumulating knowledge, but from consistent self-reflection, honest evaluation, and disciplined self-correction. Learning in Stoicism is not a passive absorption of information. It is observation, analysis, and the application of practical lessons to daily life. One can learn from failure, from mistakes, from criticism, and even from things once dismissed as insignificant. Learning happens not only in pivotal moments, but also in the ordinary. How we treat others, how we manage our emotions, how we uphold personal discipline, and how we respond to sudden change. Every moment holds educational value if we maintain the right attitude and keep the mind open. In the Stoic worldview, wisdom is not defined by how much we know, but by our ability to live according to reason, to make choices aligned with sound values, and to adjust behavior in accordance with moral principle. The wise person is not one who never errs, but one who learns from their errors and does not repeat them. Lifelong learning thus becomes an inner path where one gradually sheds false beliefs, harmful habits, and unconscious reactions in pursuit of clarity, calm, and integrity. This mindset of a continuous learning also preserves humility and guards against the illusion of having learned enough. Intellectual arrogance is one of the greatest barriers to personal development. By always considering ourselves students, we remain open, adaptable, and willing to revise our ways of living to meet new realities. Such people keep asking questions, keep watching their own behavior, and keep searching for better, wiser, and more effective ways to live. Stoicism does not view progress as a destination, but as a path with no end. Each day is a chance to live better than the day before, not by competing with others, but by refining ourselves. When someone embraces lifelong learning, they are neither trapped by the past nor overly anxious about the future, but focused on sharpening the present so they can meet each challenge with clarity and resolve. That kind of progress, whether slow or small, provides a strong foundation for a life of depth, stability, and lasting meaning. When I began practicing the principles of Stoicism, I discovered something seemingly simple that completely changed the way I approached life, clearly distinguishing between what I can control and what I cannot. In the past, I often felt drained trying to manage other people's emotions, worrying excessively about the future, and blaming myself for things that had already happened. But once I understood that my reaction is the only thing I truly governed, I began choosing calm over impulse, patience over bullseye, and action rooted in values rather than fleeting emotions. I also started training resiliency through small things, not letting a bad day carry over into the next, not letting a single criticism throw me off course, and learning to rise from each failure with a mindset of growth instead of the complaint. Practicing mindfulness helped me be more fully present in relationships, whilst it allowed me to feel content, even when I hadn't yet achieved what I was aiming for. Virtues like temperance, wisdom, justice, and courage became daily reference points, not to chase perfection, but to live more truthfully with myself. For me, Stoicism is not just a philosophy. It's a way of life, a mindset that is clear, grounded, and powerful enough to keep me steady in a world that never stops shifting. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss future deep dives and practical exercises that help you apply this philosophy to real life. This will be a space where we grow together, step by step, building inner resilience that doesn't rely on external conditions. See you in the next video.